Hi, Steve.
Hey, Jim. Say, did you
no,
see...
No, hold on. Welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast brought to you each week by, two guys talking about records. My name's Jim, and I am a record store owner.
I am Steve, a record collector that's been silenced.
You have, and I'm sorry. There's just so much to talk about. We don't have time for a pithy open today.
Wow.
Record Store Day 2024. The list is out.
Yes, and the excitement and the YouTube vinyl community videos, they're out there by the thousands already.
And they're getting thousands of views already, I bet.
Yeah, some are, some aren't. It depends, but yes.
This is always it's just like Christmas in April for record store owners and record collectors alike, is it not?
That's kind of a good point. It's like when we were young. This is way back when there was things called a catalog, a Sears catalog or a Penny's catalog. And as a kid, you'd get so excited and you'd be looking for every cool toy in there. And that is our toy catalog.
It is. That's a great way to put it. But this one's a little easier because you can sort it by a diminishing results web Boolean search on the Record Store Day website or a PDF straight out. This is making no sense. Let's just, we'll get to the list here in a minute.
Yeah, why don't we? Because I just print it and that's it.
So as a vinyl community podcast, we like to talk about our acquisitions each week. This week will be no exception. Quick reminder that we're doing our best to find these, but every week when Steve and I talk about the various pickups and the put into our collection items, we like to try to put that link up there so you guys can listen to them too to see what we're getting at with these. And so we'll put together a Spotify playlist, and the link will be in the description of our podcast, usually a little bit after the podcast goes up. And it'll be on our Facebook page. Just search for Two Guys Talking About Records, and it'll be in the description on the YouTube version of the podcast as well.
And Jim does a lot of work with that because he just knows that I really don't know what the heck's going on.
Well, that's okay. I like searching for music, and this gives everybody a chance to listen. Because of copyright restrictions, we don't want to put them in the podcast. So thank you, copyright police.
Yes.
So what kind of goodies did you grab this week?
Well, I was looking for this on Record Store Day, and it had sold out everywhere. And I'm at Third Man Records, who had done this, and there it was. It was the Bo Diddley box set, the 4 LP box set.
I know. You were really looking for that, and it went quick. But they had one.
Yeah, they did. They had you 3. And I was talking to them. They go, yeah, we try to keep everything that we've put out, keep it at Third Man. So, yeah, there it was. So I picked that up. There was a group called DMZ, and they were out of Boston. This was kind of the late 70s, punk, kind of garagey rock. This group turned into the Liars, that famous Boston garage rock band, which, I absolutely adore the Liars and what they did. But their first band was called DMZ, and someone turned me on that on my YouTube channel. I was showing Liars, and they go, hey, DMZ.
Check these guys out.
Yeah, so I checked them out, and they cost me money. The other one, and there were some other records, but I don't remember. That's what happens. I'm trying to pack up to move, and I don't know if new records keep coming in and fills up more boxes. But there was a Pink Floyd Live that you convinced me to buy last time.
And just to set the record straight, the convincing was simply, hey, Steve, listen to this, and I put it on the turntable.
Yes. The evilness of a record store. I have a turntable. Let's put it on. Wow.
Well, to be fair, I spent money on this as well. I've got a copy of this I mentioned last week. It's at Pink Floyd Live in Montreux, 1970.
Yeah, it is. It's a very incredible performance. I don't buy a lot of live, but for some odd reason, I got a heck of a lot of Pink Floyd Live albums.
Join the club.
I don't get it.
Well, the thing that helps is the fact that these newer bootlegs, as we talked about last week, the sound quality is phenomenal on these.
It is, yeah. They've really done well on trying to capture it and to clean them up. So
the allure of bootlegs has always been it's a moment in history, so it doesn't matter as much if the sound quality is not great. But now you're getting the best of both worlds. Not with every single bootleg, but at least with the ones we've been picking up lately.
Yes, and so for those of you that live and die for these, check out Record Store Day list. But Jim, what did you pick up today?
One two, not really pickups, things that I've had that are now officially in the collection. I finally decided on that Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, the difference between the Japanese versus the UK reissue, the dilemma that I was going for.
Yeah.
Opted not to keep both. I am keeping the Japanese version, the early 1978 version of Dark Side of the Moon, because it's got different types of inserts other than the typical UK-US versions.
Okay.
So the two posters are in my UK version, but they weren't included in the Japanese, but the Japanese has a booklet. So I'm going to keep that, and the UK version is going to find its way out here at the store because, as we talked about several weeks previous, I have other copies to go through.
Yes, you do.
The other one was, and I've had this now for a couple of years, and I realized it was never officially added into my collection, and it's another version of Dark Side, not by Pink Floyd, though. This is by a group called the Easy Star All-Stars, and the album is Dub Side of the Moon.
Okay.
This is a recreation of Dark Side of the Moon done in reggae. And I'm not a big reggae guy, but for some reason, I really dig this reggae version. Some of it's so laid back. They replace a lot of the vocals with just reggae instrumentals. And then there's a couple where they do sing, which are okay, but it's just a fantastic take. Now, the Easy All-Stars, they do other versions of things as well that I'm looking at on our distributors now. They do a Bowie one, they do Radiohead, they just reggae versions of stuff. So it's kind of cool, and I've had it for a while, and I realized when I was going through the Dark Sides that it was never officially added into my collection. So I corrected that.
Now, are they using that reggae beat? Because if so, they're going to be part of that lawsuit.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to be involved. The other two ads were one, I gave this one a legit shot in the store, and our customers kind of bypassed it for a week or so. And after listening to it a couple times, I'm like, well, I'm going to just put this over here on this shelf for the time being. Yeah. And then I added it in officially. It's by a group called Love Sculpture, and the album is Forms and Feelings. Not Love, not the psych group Love, but another one called Love Sculpture, which is almost kind of a psych rock group, blues. They're a Welsh act of blues and rockabilly roots, formed in '66 by former members of the band The Human Beings.
Okay.
They split up in 1970, but this is notable because it includes a guy by the name of Dave Edmunds on guitar and vocals. And so I'm listening to Forms and Feelings, which I think originally came out in '69. This is a 1970 version. I think it's a first press U.S. because they delayed that by a year. And there's some very cool stuff on there. But more interestingly, there's a couple of instrumentals where Edmund's guitar just kicks out like crazy. One called, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but Farnadol, which is almost like a classical guitar piece. And then they have the saber dance, the Russian instrumental saber dance, done in kind of a psych, almost rockabilly guitar feel, which is just amazing. Huh. So this is a cool album, and like I said, I gave it a shot in the store, and after listening to it a few times and nobody picked it up while it was sitting on the Now Playing stand, I went, yoink. There it goes. And then lastly, I picked up something for the Michigan collection, a Various Artists album called Cruisin' Ann Arbor 2, live at the U Club. So this was acts recorded throughout the early 80s. This was released in 1984, by the way, at the University of Michigan's U Club, or the bar of the U Club. Mm-hmm. And this is the second put out by something called the Ann Arbor Music Project and School Kids Records, a record store chain that helped put this together in '84. So now I got to go find Volume 1, of course. But a lot of Michigan bands that were probably flash in the pan in the early 80s, some that I've heard of, some that I've not heard of, and the music runs the gamut from punk to harder rock to jazz and new wave. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very interesting. You got a group on there, the Watusis, which I've heard of as a Michigan group. They're kind of a pop punk in through there. Map of the World, which I used to have an EP from. Really great Ann Arbor band. I don't know where and when I got rid of the EP, but I did, and I miss it, so I'm going to have to find that again. But then you've got other things in there, the State, the Lunar Glee Club, Aluminum Beach, the Buzz Tones, and just some other folks playing a wide variety of music live in Ann Arbor. It's a great little addition to the Michigan collection.
Okay, very nice.
So, but as I said, now I've got to go find Cruise in Ann Arbor 1.
Yeah.
That's how that goes. But a great pickup for both of us this week, I think.
Yeah.
With the exception of that live Floyd, we'll find clips of all of these and toss them onto the Spotify playlist. The Floyd one proved tough to find on Spotify, so we'll just do what we can. But some great stuff. Subject at hand, and let's dive straight into this because this is the biggie as we talked about. Coming up on April 20th of this year is Record Store Day 2024. This seems to get bigger and bigger and better each year, although there's no Taylor Swift this time, but I do want to talk about TS as a lead into this because this is a big issue. But there are, I think I counted like 380 lines on our order sheet for this, so nearly 400 releases. This seems bigger than previous Record Store Days, but you said earlier it seems very well-rounded.
Yeah, it is. That's, oftentimes, listen to the different videos people talking about, they go, man, I don't know, this list isn't very good. And it's because I think too often we're stuck in what we like to listen to. And so we're looking at this and you're not finding as much. This is made for everybody from your 15 to in your 80s.
And all genres from country to jazz to heavy metal and everything in between.
Yeah, they've really expanded. There's a lot of rap in here. And remember how big rap was. What still is big, rap and hip-hop. But, in the 90s, it ruled the charts into the aughts. So there is this big demand for it, which they have found. And obviously, a lot of these things are based upon what's sold previously. Well, that really sold well. That genre, we need to put out more. How can we get it going?
And I think that that is a testament to, and again, I'll use the air quotes, I don't like the vinyl resurgence, but Record Store Day as an organization, as an event, is responsible for this newfound love of vinyl. I don't think that had Record Store Day not started doing this 15 some odd years ago, 12, 15 years ago, we wouldn't be where we are now. Yeah. And this is speaking as a record store owner. This event has done more for the visibility and the return of vinyl as a viable listening just method that I think that they're owed a lot of due for that.
Well, it's on national news.
Yep.
I mean, everywhere. So you hear about it and people, what is this? And I'm sure every year you have people come in. This is my first Record Store Day. What's it about?
Yep. And we do our best to educate because unlike, here's a record coming out. I'd like to pre-order it. That is not the case. And I think that the design of the event more than anything really helps generate this overall almost a feverish buzz by some folks in it because you're not allowed, as a record store, we're not allowed to let you pre-order it. We are not allowed to reserve. We're not allowed to hold these titles. I know some record stores probably don't adhere to that, but that is the pledge. And if you look on the Record Store Day website at recordstoreday.com, actually you'll be able to find the list there, but you'll also see that it has a list of stores that have signed the pledge. So what we do as a store, we have to sign a pledge in order to be eligible to sell these items on Record Store Day. And that pledge basically says we will not pre-sell, we will not reserve, we will not hold items, we will not price gouge on these items when they come out because some of them are tremendously rare. And once we agree to that, then we're allowed to sell these items on Record Store Day. And if we are caught breaking these, and I think some stores have been caught in the past, they lose that pledge ability and they are no longer allowed to sell Record Store Day items. They're pretty strict about that. I
also heard they hired John Wick to go out and anybody that breaks it, he's taking care of things. So just FYI.
You got my Record Store Day, my Victrola dog.
Yeah. As I was looking at this though, the amount of picture discs was kind of mind-blowing.
It is.
And it's like, okay, we've released everything that we have from this artist. We've added in extras. Where do we go next? Picture discs.
Well, look at our Pink Floyd discussion.
Yes.
It's a picture disc.
Exactly.
Oh,
and then, once you've done all the picture discs, now where do you go? You go to Zoetrope.
Yep.
And I mean, there's a few of them. Why? They've already done picture discs. Well, let's take it up one more notch.
The Dio release, there's 2 Dio releases on here, actually. Both of them are picture discs. One of them is live, and the other is, as you said, one of those Zoetrope ones.
Yeah.
Zoetrope. where when the record spins, the animation on the print comes to life. It creates almost like a stop motion animation. I think the Dio one I was told is Ronnie raising his little devil hands up at
and Blur Parklife did the same thing. I was surprised on that. They just reissued Parklife from Blur. I think last year. And I bought it, yes. And I was very excited because I wanted it. Well, now we already have it on Zoetrope picture disc. So, yeah, it's just...
They reel us in.
It is. And, I mean, yeah, there is some definite reeling you in.
The other thing that comes through on here is there is a lot of live albums. And again, because of the licensing of the music and some of these, I've even seen some BBC ones, which we've talked about. The licensing on these are free and clear if they're taking BBC from the 60s and early 70s. You can print these however you want, and there's no copyright on those.
Yeah, it's shocking how many live albums, which is it seemed like half the list is live albums. I've bought them in the past. I don't really ever pull them out to ever play. I mean, I play them when I first get them, and okay.
Some of them are great, but I think that a lot of those are geared toward the completist collector.
Yeah.
Same thing with the picture discs. Well, I've got Dio's Last in Line. I guess I better get the picture disc of it now.
So talking about completist collectors, Beatles 3-inch. You talk about something going for... I mean, they've released it all. They've released everything. Maybe not picture disc on the Beatles. Probably they have. So where do we go from here? How can we take that 3-inch format and make people buy it?
And I'm getting requests for that. They're selling a Beatles-themed turntable, that small little trinket turntable, and a series of Beatles releases. She Loves You, Till There Was You, and I Want to Hold Her Hand. 4 of them, I'm sorry. And I saw her standing there, single-sided 3-inch discs that sound not great, but it's a collectability on this. One of the things we'll talk about today is pricing, and I'll pass along what I can. I've not seen the pricing yet on the Beatles stuff because our distributors don't handle that. That comes from a completely separate entity because of the turntables.
But once we can get you into that 3-inch, because, okay, I got to have it. I'm a Beatles fan. Now we can, let's do the Doors again. Let's do, and here come the 3-inch.
Yep.
And
truth be told, I'm not a fan of that. I thought it was just kind of they introduced that 3-inch turntable several years back.
Yeah, Jack White came out with some of that.
And it was cool, but the price point was just up there for something that you're going to put on your desk at work and show off once in a while. Because it's obviously not a high-fidelity listening experience. It's just more for a collector. Yeah. And that's it.
And they are... Boy, the Beatles. How
so,
about that one?
I'm not, I don't know the quantities and I don't know the prices on those yet because I have not seen that because it comes from a completely separate entity, but we'll get a hold of that info here at the store soon. So let us talk a little bit more about the list and go in depth. I think Steve and I have got what some of our picks are going to be. I've got some that I think are going to be very big and popular here at the store. The one thing that the Record Store Day website is good about, and if you go to recordstoreday.com, you can click on their link for the list, and then you can view it 2 different ways. You can view the web version, which is the full pages, and you can narrow that search down by just typing in a few letters, and it knocks that search down to 2 or 3 of the things you're looking for, or you can view it as a complete PDF page and print it out. I found out today, I think as you did too, when you print out the PDF or you're looking at the PDF, it does not give you the pressing quantities.
Yeah.
Whereas the web version does. So if you're curious on just how limited something's going to be, then you have to look at the web version. The other thing too, and this is, I think I know why Record Store Day does this. They just kind of steer clear. They let the distributors, and there's 2 big distributors handling this nationwide, handle the pricing on this. So they'll set what could be the labels will set a manufacturer suggested retail price, the MSRP, and it may or may not be that. Now I mentioned the pledge, so obviously the prices can't be jacked way up, but it comes down to that MSRP coming from the labels through the distributors who help set the MSRP to the stores who have to decide just what that is.
Okay.
Personally speaking, when it comes to the MSRP for me, and this isn't just here at the store, I am not a fan of that $14.98, $22.98, $41.98. I dislike that so much because it's based on the premise that the consumer is too dumb to know that they're not paying $15 for something. Oh, well, it's not $15, it's $14.98. So I tend to just say, round it up, $15. And that's not because I can't do math. Oh, wait, it is.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the MSRPs today, just note that most of them are that $98.99 thing. And I'm just rounding them up that 2 cents to tell you it'll be about, because the record stores will set that within that parameter, the reasonable parameter of the prices.
Working in Kmart for 35 years, we always ended at 97. Then Walmart came along and go 96.
Oh, man, what a deal.
Yes, they did.
No wonder Kmart went under.
That's right. They could say, we're the lowest price, and we did not go to 95 because they would have went to 94.
So that is kind of where we're going to go. We'll get into this in a little bit, but there's a couple of things prior to this that I want to talk about that have been brought up to me by some customers, and quite frankly, I brought it up with our distributors as well. One of them being Taylor Swift. Now, last year's Record Store Day 2023, there was a Taylor Swift release that brought the Swifties out in force.
Yeah.
At our store here in little old Midland, Michigan, we had a line of about 75 people. Now, they weren't all Swifties, but that was a good part of it. When we opened the doors that morning, 75 people in line waiting, which for us is great. I mean, big stores, big cities. Oh, well, we got 300-400 people. Ann Arbor, they're around the block. Mm-hmm. Grand Rapids, the same thing. But for us, I mean, that's great. I love that. And Taylor Swift brought them out last year. So the big wonder that everybody was looking at this year is like, okay, well, what is going to happen this year? Will there be something Taylor Swift to help carry that momentum forward? There was not. But prior to the list happening, on the night of the Grammys, Taylor Swift announced, I've got a new album coming out, everybody. And the world took a collective deep breath. And then she said, and it's coming out on April 19th, which is the day before Record Store Day.
So I wonder in school, how many kids are not going to be in school that day? Just think about that. You don't open till 10 or 11 o'clock. So, well, no, Mom, I can't go to school today.
Well, the thing is, without this release of hers being a Record Store Day exclusive, and again, I've not seen the promo stuff on this. It is not in our pre-order systems yet. It was just her announcing it. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea on color variants. But my guess is, and I think it's a safe bet, there's going to be a Walmart exclusive. Yeah. There's going to be a Target exclusive. There's going to be 5 different Taylor Swift website exclusives. There's going to be at least 1 or 2 indie record store exclusives. Then there's going to be the general commercial release. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, all of a sudden now I start thinking about all of these record pressing plants that have to step into gear and make gajillions of these Taylor Swift albums at the same time. They're supposed to be finishing up. Maybe the Record Store Day stuff is done. Maybe it's getting shuffled. We don't know, but this is going to put a tremendous strain on an already busy time of year.
When I was doing that Third Man tour, the record plant, they said their Record Store Day is done. They did it January and the beginning of February. So theirs is finished, and they've done it for other people. They try to get out ahead of this thing, because I was asking that. I says, what is Taylor Swift? Is that going to shut down plants? They go, no, generally speaking, we got it completed.
Good to hear. But there's also things that tend to drop off because there was a problem with the run, mm-hmm. or they didn't get done in time. So, when you're talking over 300, nearly 400 releases, the chances that you're going to get every single one of them done and done correctly in time, in the span of a couple of months now before April 20th is very, very slim. Yeah. That everything's going to get there. In fact, just yesterday when you and I were talking, I brought up the fact that I saw the Brownout Black, the Brown Sabbath Volume 1 on Record Store Day, and I was thrilled. This morning, it's gone. It's not on our distributor list. It's not on the Record Store Day list. What gives? So that is one of the casualties that I swear it was there.
Yeah, and so now Jim has said this Record Store Day list is the worst
Forget
ever.
It.
Yes.
I'm done.
Why bother?
I'm out. No, there's some other good stuff on here. So we'll just have to pay attention to see if some of these, and there always will be some stuff that is dropped or pushed back. I mean, look at what happened with King Missile in Black Friday last year. And now it's nowhere to be seen here, where the Pauly Shore was delayed, and it's on this one this time.
At least so far.
So far. Well, hopefully they'll get it done. The other biggie, and there's 2 of them actually on this. On our pre-release show that I do on our YouTube channel, I mentioned the Pearl Jam. Mm-hmm. So Pearl Jam's got an album called Dark Matter. coming out on Record Store Day. And then the day before Record Store Day, on the 19th, Pearl Jam's got an album coming out called Dark Matter.
Oh.
So this one, to quote Dodgeball, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how this plays out. Pearl Jam is releasing their album the day before they release their album on Record Store Day. And the one that's coming out on Friday, the 19th, is a black vinyl version of Dark Matter. Then on Record Store Day, they've got the Record Store Day version of Dark Matter. And in looking at this, the numbers, there's 15,000 of the Record Store Day Pearl Jams being produced. I don't imagine that there's going to be hardly anybody saying, well, you know what? I better buy that black vinyl version just in case I'm not going to get the Record Store Day one, because with 15,000, you're going to get the Record Store Day one. So I don't get it. I'm scratching my head why they would choose to do that and not save the black vinyl version for a reissue 3-4 months down the line.
Sure. Unless it's going to be a lot cheaper or they add something extra into it. They're not.
Same price.
Wow.
Same list price of $46. Same packaging. Just the vinyl is different. Now, Pearl Jam, I guess, has also got a couple of different vinyl variants coming out on the 19th on their website as well. So this one, it's a little mystifying to me why they would choose to do this, other than let's just get it all out there at once.
Well, it came from those famous what-if meetings that they like to have. They sit around the table. Well, what if we did this?
What if we did this?
Yes. What a great idea. Hey, can I have another beer? Let's do this.
Sure. The other one that pops into mind is on the Record Store Day list, there is an Ace Frehley album coming out. Let me find him here real quick.
And Eric Carr.
Yes, and Eric Carr. Yes, Ace Frehley and Eric Carr. So Ace Frehley, the one that's coming out is his new album, 10,000 Volts, coming out on Record Store Day as a picture disc, as we talked about.
Yeah.
Guess what releases this coming Friday, the 23rd of February?
The real one.
Ace Frehley's new album, 10,000 Volts, on 2 different color variants.
Wow.
So separated by a month and a half to 2 months here, you're getting this Ace Frehley coming back out in picture disc form.
You know, when I was going through this, I did find a number of other albums that were just released. We're talking maybe a year ago or 2 years ago from newer artists, and they're putting them out there now in that very, different color. But there was a number of these. I was going, who is this person? I look it up. But that album, they just released it. So it seems to be a popular trend right now. Yeah. That's just, okay, they have this, they love it, give them something else.
Hop on that train while you got it. And you got the momentum. Mm-hmm. As you talked about, you've got the good press going, and you've got that momentum happening. So let us go through the list, Steve. What do you say? Okay. Let's, I think, maybe give some of the things that we're looking for first.
Sure.
And then I've got some thoughts on what are going to be some other big ones in here, because I don't know if there's any, well, you can't call it. I don't know what the surprise is going to be because we haven't been surprised yet.
Yeah.
Like last year, that Olivia Rodrigo on Black Friday was a huge surprise.
Yep.
Did not see that one coming, but we had people left and right looking for it. So I don't know what that's going to be this time. I mean, at this stage, I don't know yet. Give me another week or two, I might have an idea when I start seeing some of our requests coming in. As I said, we cannot hold or pre-order, but like every single record store everywhere, we're asking people what they want.
I think a lot of that comes down to the younger record shoppers who they may not be saying what they're really going after. And so, you do get caught up by surprise. The older folks, we're in here, we need this, we want this. They may not be doing this. I'm going to go get it. And they just hit you.
They hear about Record Store Day a little later after the fact. And then through their artists, they're saying that.
Yeah.
And I did have that. I had some high schoolers come in earlier this week. They left me a little note. They didn't know about Record Store Day, the little hearts drawn in there. Uh-huh. These are some of the things that they're looking for. So I'm going to take this as this is really kind of what the younger folks are digging on. And listen to me sounding like an old fart. Uh-huh. So I'll use that because if they're taking the time to stop in here at the store saying, I heard from this artist's website that she's got a Record Store Day release coming up. What is that? How do I get it?
Okay.
This is great.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for? What's on your hot list here for 24?
There was a lot of cool live albums, but like the Dandy Warhols had a live album that looked interesting, but I really don't I just don't think I need it, so I'm kind of backed off on all that. But, the first one I saw on here, and by the way, if you're listening, usually what I'm going to buy, no one else does, so I just FYI. But Dean and Britta, they have an album that came out in 2003. Now, Dean and Britta are from the group Luna, and they're married, and this was the first album they put out, and it came out in 2003. In 2008 it did come out in vinyl. It goes for about a medium price of $70 now. So I guess if you were saying there's 1,300 of these that are going to be printed, so it's not a big run. It is a Record Store Day first, so
which means that it will be repressed.
Yes, it will be repressed.
That's the other thing. If you're looking at the list and you'll see 3 classifications. E for exclusive, meaning that this is the only time you're going to get it. The F for the Record Store Day first, which means that they will repress it. And then there's the R for regional. I don't see any R's on here, but they're usually regional releases, which are a little tougher to get.
Yeah. What was L?
Limited. That's the limited. That's the regional. Limited is the regional.
Regional.
Sorry.
All right.
Instead of R, the L is the limited regional.
Those guys. Look at that. Changing stuff up.
I know.
Holy cow. Another one was, I'm still thinking about this. It's the Psych album Gandalf. That's really popular with a lot of collectors. Came out in 1969, and definitely it is a collectible one. Originals go for a medium price of $300. In 2018, they did do a reissue that's already at $53.
Wow.
So it is up there, and there's 1,500 of those being released, and I'm really sure this would excite a lot of Psych collectors if they didn't get that reissue that came out. The Dream Syndicate, I'm probably not going to get this one, but it's Sketches for the Days of Wine and Roses. So, Dream Syndicate is Paisley Underground, one of the premier groups. Days of Wine and Roses is a classic album. It's such an important album from that time period. But here, this is sketches from it. So, what you going to get? Do I really? If you're a completist, yes, you have to have it. This was interesting. Astrid Gilberto, that girl from Ipanema.
Yep.
Now, it is that girl from Ipanema. That's a 1977 bossa nova disco record.
You've heard it before. You may not know it, but you've heard it before.
Yes. So, but now it's disco.
The disco version
of. $30 you can buy an original on that one.
That's going to catch a lot of people because they're going to think it's the original one.
Exactly. That's what I like.
Be careful.
I was like, why are they reissuing that one again? I go, oh.
That's why.
Yeah, exactly it. There was a Howlin' Wolf. This is a live one. But I do enjoy like Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters live albums. There's this certain power that they put into it. And it's live in Europe, which is kind of a broad thing. But 2,000 of these are being put out. Sounded interesting.
That number 2,000, that's right at that tricky part for the stores to get because you've got well over 2,000 stores trying for stuff.
Yeah. Which, sadly, about everything I look at is under 2,000. But there was the Groovy Ghoulies. It's kind of a pop-punk group. They're fans of the Ramones and the Dickies, garage rock from the 60s, and they have 40 years of Kippy and the Groovy Ghoulies. So I don't know. It's a 2 LP set. The Mighty Lemon Drops, and this is another late 80s, 90s group that was super popular, kind of more jangle, alt-rock, and so they're putting out Ricochet, which was their 1992 album.
Yeah,
And this is the first time it's ever been released on vinyl.
Really?
Yes, and this is an exclusive. There's only 1,100 of them at $35. So once again, I'm looking. But you never know. You never know what might be out there. I did look at this one. There's a group called Lettuce. What the heck is Lettuce?
That is I've had some requests on that one already too. It's like a jazz.
It is jazz,
more modern.
Yeah, jazz. Yeah, very modern. There's only one song called Vibe. It's a 2 album set of that one song, The Vibe. And it came out in 2020.
Okay, yes.
And now it's already coming back out again. So, yeah, that was interesting. And we've been waiting on this one, and thank God it's finally being released. Joe Pesci and Little Joe Sure Can Sing is what it's called.
And Pauly Shore.
Yeah.
It's a duet on them.
Who has ever, I mean, maybe there's
Joe
some people
Pesci.
out there have said, gosh, I wish Joe could put out an album because that voice of his, beautiful.
You know, I read the list too quickly, and at first I thought it said Joe Pesci.
Oh.
Sorry,
okay.
inside joke, friend of ours. Hey, Joe.
Yep. Rain Parade. Emergency.
I know you are looking at that
Oh,
one.
my God. I have been looking. I had the original, but I've needed a cover since the flood, but I kept my original vinyl. And so, it hasn't been reissued. And it goes for a lot of money. And here it is, the Emergency Third Rail Power Trip coming out. And there's only 1,000 of them at $30. But I was telling, I mean, I right away when I saw this list, I told Jim, I says, only thing I care about is this album. And then just the other day, I got an original finally. And so it's like, all right, I got my original.
Yeah.
This isn't as
You
important
landed one
now.
through the mighty Noble Records.
Yes, Noble Records, exactly. I have a friend down there that's a little birdie goes, I look what I found there. And luckily I know Dylan, so he was very nice to do it. Just a couple more I'm looking at. Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros. You know, their one they put out last Record Store Day was red hot, and it was an excellent album. This one came out in 1999. It's Rock Art and the X-Ray Style, 25th anniversary, and there's 1,800 of them at around $39.
Okay.
Not as good when I was playing samples as the other one, but it's Joe Strummer. I'm not being a completist, though. Lost in Translation is coming out. They had put this out as a 1 LP set in 2019.
Yeah, it was Record Store Day,
Yeah,
too.
Record Store Day. It goes for $88 medium.
Wow.
I used to have that one, and I loved it. So now it's coming out in a 2 LP version with 5,475 of them at only $40. So for 2 LPs at $40 on Record Store Day, that actually seems like a deal. And let's see, I think that is pretty much. There was a couple other ones that were interesting. There was various artists. There's Mejor de los Nuggets, Garage and Psych. I would guess that's Latin. That one sounded very interesting. Rough Guy to Hoodoo Blues, Jazz Dispensary.
Another Jazz Dispensary on there,
the
I see
Freedom
that.
Sound. I just got to see what it was. I passed on that last one. Luckily, I found it. And Pale Shades of Grey, Heavy Psychedelic. Be Now. I don't know.
I see there's an Even More Dazed and Confused in the various artists'
Yes,
music
yes.
from the motion picture.
Even more.
Even more. So
Wow.
it'd be like the third one. More
Yes.
and even more.
Stephen Wilson put out one on here, and he did the remix on Ultravoxes, on Stephen Wilson extended remixes for Ultravox.
Definitely something to watch there.
Yeah. So, that's Wall of Voodoo. They put out their EP, is out there. It came out in 1980, but it's okay. So what about you?
Well, there's only a few things, and this is always tricky for me. As a record store owner, I still have to play by the rules.
Yep.
And it's actually a little worse even, because if I get a limited number of something and people want it before me, then I really kind of do give that up. And I've lost some Record Store Day stuff in the past by doing that, but that's why I try to order extra of the things that I want, just to make sure that we get them. But what I'm looking at, what's standing out here, and this one really popped on me after that Brown Sabbath, of course, which now is gone, darn it. There's a release by Bebop Deluxe called Futurama. Bebop Deluxe it's a very interesting group, and I've got most of their early stuff except for Futurama. So this one falls right into the hole that would fill that collection. I'm not a completist by any means with their stuff, but I like their earlier stuff. The Bill Nelson, they've got a very quirky sound to them.
Yeah, they do.
Plus, I like the show Futurama, which has nothing to do with this album.
Yeah.
But this one coming in $37, but there's only 1,000 of them being pressed. But it is a Record Store Day first, so I will be able to get that again if I miss out. So some great stuff there. Secondly is Ted Nugent is on here with the Amboy Dukes with the release of Journey to the Center of the Mind, which, Nugent, love him or hate him, this is a fantastic psych rock album with that Michigan flavor to it. I have my original of that, and I actually had it signed by Nugent back in the 90s when I was working television. I interviewed him for something. So my cover is displayed on that. So maybe I do need a play copy of this. 1,600 of them, and it's a first as well, so that one will pop up. But just some fantastic rock from him. Next up is a reissue of the Dead Milkmen's Bucky Fellini. They did this with Metaphysical Graffiti last year, I believe, and they've expanded it into a gatefold. Not a 2 LP, but they put it into a gatefold to add some extra stuff to it. And I have an original Bucky Fellini, which is not one of the Dead Milkmen's biggest albums by any means, but it's still a fun one. So I'm questioning whether or not I need this. It's not even expanded. I take it back. I think there's an extra song on there. But whether I need this Record Store Day version. It's the Giving Groove, I believe, is the label. So money from this actually goes to a charitable foundation to promote music in the city of Philadelphia, where the Dead Milkmen are from. Now, my other question on Bucky Fellini, and a lot of the original Dead Milkmen, early Dead Milkmen stuff, in the 80s when they released this fun punk, as we like to call it, there was stuff that could have been considered offensive, yet in good fun, not good taste, but good fun. Bucky Fellini is one of those albums. And I find it interesting that this album, which you could just kind of chuckle at in some of their lyrics in the early 80s, now in 2024, these lyrics would be considered problematic and get anybody else canceled. And those of you who know the Dead Milkmen probably can guess the song. It's the You'll Dance to Anything there. That gets a little problematic by today's standards. So I'll have to decide on that. The only other stuff that really popped up for me personally in here, and this is still an iffy one, let me find my list here, is the sound. It's various artists from the South Park concert, the 25th anniversary concert that they recorded last year at Red Rocks. And it's because it's got Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson in part. There's a lot of Claypool on there. He played on a lot of the stuff from Primus. And it was a star-studded tribute to South Park. And this is kind of cool. It's going to have a lot of South Park songs on there, but it's going to have a lot of other artists' songs on there that came out to celebrate this. It is a 3 LP set coming in at about $50, and there's going to be 4,000 of them. And I like the idea of the other artists on there. The South Park songs, like Blame Canada and, Kyle's Mom's a Bee and everything like that, are cool, but that's not something you're going to go to often to listen to. Yeah. So I have to question whether or not that's going to be one that I'm going to dive to, and whether or not I get one of those or not. We'll see. So that's kind of it's a slim one for me, but that's okay, because I've got a lot of other stuff going on that day.
Exactly. Well, I did see like the Black Crowes are putting out an album. The Offspring are putting out an album. Both those groups sold well. Chet Baker is putting out one with Jack Sheldon. It's called Imperfect Harmony, the Lost Album. So thank God they found it. I wonder where they found it, in which closet. It always makes you wonder when it's like, there it is.
I left it under that shoebox.
It also makes you wonder on a lost album, was it lost on purpose? Is it good?
It could very well be.
Yes.
So I think that we're running a little close on time here for today's show, but there's a few things that I think bear watching on here. And let's just kind of zip through this alphabetically on some of the things that I think are going to be noteworthy. Again, there's some Cannonball Adderley that are live on there. Folks that are asking. The Beatles, of course, those 3 inches we talked about. You mentioned the Black Crowes. The Blur picture disc is on here. There's a David Bowie. I'm not certain what that one is. We'll have to look that one up a little more closely. A Captain Beefheart and a Zappa on the same list. 2 different releases, not one, but that'll be interesting to see where those go. I'm really surprised that on 420 for a Record Store Day, there wasn't more Cheech and Chong, but there is a Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke reissue, so of course they're going to do that.
Can't you get that in your bargain bin?
You can indeed.
Okay, all right, just checking. All right.
You can, but it with the paper.
Oh,
with the paper, you never see it. So
right.
They're going to have to put the paper in there on this one. Let's see. There's a Def Leppard live on here. The Dio picture discs that we talked about. Another Doctor Who picture disc in this case. Of course, there's some Live Doors. There's an Emerson, Lake and Palmer picture disc, and not the cool one. It's the pictures in an exhibition, which scratching my head on that one. So
There is a live Parliament album. I
There's
know,
a-
not
okay.
live, but there's a Parliament album. Wow.
another one that could be big, but I'm not certain because everybody in the world should already own a copy of this, is a Fleetwood Mac Rumors,
Yeah.
but on picture disc.
Yeah, on picture disc. It's,
So really got to love that album.
There's a case where we put it out every year. Oh, we haven't done picture disc.
Frankie and the Witch Fingers, I think it's a live one. Should get some hits on that. Of course, there's a Jerry Garcia, and I believe there's going to be a Grateful Dead in there. Gorillas, Cracker Island. Yep, there's the Grateful Dead. A 4 LP box set from the Grateful Dead. Nightfall of Diamonds. Some George Harrison. That looks kind of interesting. Let's see. The
Neil
Howlin'
Young.
Wolf you mentioned. Neil Young. Oh, The Who. The Who, H-U. The Mongolian throat-singing heavy
Yeah,
metal band, The
saw
Who, with a live album. That could be fun. Iggy and the Stooges. What'd you think of that one?
Yeah, it's a later Stooges. It could
2005.
be interesting, but it's not the same power to me.
50th anniversary of Elton John's Caribou. Here's a big one. I think this is going to be a huge one. And again, the high schoolers that came in asked for this one. It's Noah Kahan's I Was, I Am LP coming in at $33. Now, there's 15,000 of this one being pressed. So I think
Wow.
RSD knows that they know that Noah Kahan's going to be a big one. So I think that one's going to be up there as well. Something else, Holly Humberstone. I'm not familiar with that. Maisie Peters, that I've heard about. I think that's going to be another big one, as well as a Sabrina Carpenter. But back to my list. The Lettuce, I think, is going to be interesting. Stop in if I'm going past some of the ones you're thinking on here, too.
Now, I'm still trying to get why would you name your group Lettuce? I'm still having a hard time on that one.
There's a Monkees reissue, The Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees. It's not a big one of them. I don't think that's going to be very big on there. Motley Crue, Motorhead, Mr. Big is on here. Nas, I think, is going to be fairly decent. Here's another good one. Willie Nelson and various artists. Long story short, the Willie Nelson 90th birthday concert, but the Volume 2. Volume 1 was released as a regular release, so now they've got the rest of this. This is probably going to have the Snoop Dogg and stuff on this one. Yeah. So that'll be a big one coming out. Another Willie Nelson on there. You missed the Nico live, Steve.
Yeah, I saw that. But there was the Sparks, number one song in heaven.
There you go.
Which has been doing well. And what was it? Oh, there's just Screaming Trees could be interesting.
Paramore, who are the Record Store Day ambassadors this year. 2 versions of This Is Why, a remix and standard on double LP. So that'll be a fun one. The Pearl Jam we talked about, the Dark Matter, 15,000 of those things happening. So I don't know what this is. I'm going to have to look this up. The name of the artist is Pigs Live.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. We'll find that one. Queen, Cool Cat 7-inch. I'm going to guess that's an Adam Lambert.
The Airplane soundtrack, you did not mention that was being
I
released.
missed that.
It's underneath Elmer Bernstein.
Okay. Airplane. That would be fun with the Jaws theme and everything.
Yep.
Surely you've got to be kidding on that. That's on the list, Steve.
Yes. Yeah, from the Airplane. Yep.
Oh, no.
Shirley.
Sure. Okay.
Yes,
don't
exactly.
call me Shirley. Thank you.
Yeah, don't call me Shirley. Okay, yep.
Demos from the Ramones, a live replacements on here. Oh, let's see. A Linda Ronstadt box set, the Asylum albums. That could be fun.
But I could buy them.
Yeah, I know. I know you could. $2 a piece. Come, I've got so much Linda Ronstadt in the store. Please come find this one here. Mavis Staples. You mentioned some Sun Ra on here. I don't think that would be a good seller, but it's interesting. Live Talking Heads.
Yep.
Should be fun as well. And the ton of various artists. I'm not seeing much. Oh, the other big one that I've been told to watch out for is this Lainey Wilson. Ain't That Some I found a few hits. A double 7-inch set, only 850 of those being made. I'm thinking that's going to be a big sought-after one as well.
Double 7-inch.
It's an exclusive 7-inch with 850, so that'll be a tough get.
Yeah.
Overall, you looking forward to this?
I am. I don't have this huge list, but I say that every time. And as Jim knows, I suddenly go home with a whole bunch more. It happens every year. I got these 3 that I want.
And then you come back, well, these are still here. Maybe I need this.
Yes,
Maybe
that's what
I need that.
happens. And I come back the next day, there's some more. I might as well get this. And suddenly I have 10 albums from original 3.
Well, what do you folks think? Is there something that you're really looking forward to for Record Store Day 2024? head over to our Facebook page or the YouTube channel and let us know in the comments what you're looking for. And as we get closer, I think Steve and I will try to update some of these. If there's drops or ads from that, I will let you guys know. If I change my mind on a few things, I'll let you know from there. And if something really begins to pop out as a standout this year, I'll let you guys know on that too.
Yep.
But let us know what you think. I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be an odd one for you because you're going to be in transit. You already have moved.
Yes. Well, maybe. Yeah, we don't know. What we're thinking we already will be moved.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, it will be.
We'll
tough.
take it from there. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening this week to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast.
I am Steve, a record collector.
And I'm Jim, and I'm a record store owner on Record Store Day. I like this, and I dislike it because I want some of the stuff. I'm a record collector, too. So.
Pay me $10 extra, and I'll buy it for you.
There we go.
All right.
Shh, don't tell them. All right. You folks have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.